Good afternoon, everyone. May I request all the guests to be seated?
વોલ્યુમ વધારવું પડશે.
We request all the guests to put your phone mobile on silent mode. Great. Welcome to all of you. I am Manish Patel, member of Aggressive family, and I'm really happy to start off today's function, which is all about Kaka. I have known Kaka since 1993, when my father brought me at Jogeshwari at Excel Industries Limited. He introduced me to Kaka. Right away, Kaka greeted me and said, "Kem che dikra? You can call me Kaka." And this also happens to be and this also to be the title of the book that we are going to launch today. There are already quite a few books on Kaka, so why another book? To answer the question, I am going to invite someone who knows Kaka very closely. Most of you here know Ashwin Shroff, Managing Director and Chairman of Excel Industries. Whenever I look at Ashwin I always get the feeling that Kaka is still with us. So please, Ashwin may I request you to take over?
Thank you, Manish. Can you all hear me? Okay. Let me start on some humorous note. For a Kaka to be Kaka, there has to be some Batijas, no? So I'm very happy that two Batijas are here, Raju Bhai and myself. Eldest. Yes, yes. That's why I gave your name first. Okay. Also, let me start with another question in lighter tone. Very difficult to be participant in this program and to make introductory remarks. How do you start? What do you say about Kaka? It's a big problem. It's a very pleasant problem, but it's very difficult to define Kaka. Who was he? What was he? What did he stand for? So, a big problem because he had many facets and he went through so many phases of life which were all very, very interesting, very different from each other. So to describe Kaka is a very difficult problem, but it's a pleasant problem, as I said. Okay, so I've been given 10 minutes. I'll try and complete in 10 minutes, maybe a minute here and there. Pardon me if I exceed, and thank me if I complete before that. There are four major dimensions of Kaka's personality. He was an artist, became a technocrat, a project manager of very large and critical projects. But the way he did it, I'll just describe that. So he was always very humble, and he was always a team builder. So he built wonderful teams, project after project, subject after subject. His way of creating a team was something unique. And everybody felt that this is my project. That was his beauty. His team had no hierarchy. The last man on the shop floor to the top man, the highest PhD, you would all be part of the program, of the team. His typical style would be to start on a very humble basis. He would identify what he used to call areas of ignorance. What do I know? What do I not know? What I do not know, how do I learn? Whom do I go to learn that so that my knowledge becomes complete so that I can do it? So his typical style was start with what I know and what I do not know, and then not only stopping at that, typically then he would find out the right gurus to learn from, go to them again with his typical humility, with his humbleness, and would bow down to that person and then say, this is what I want to do, this is my vision, this is my dream, please help me to fulfill that. That is how we created. There are so many examples of all the wonderful projects that he did, but one which comes to my mind at the moment is when Excel started the phosphorus plant in Bhavnagar, where it was the first time Excel went out of Mumbai. A very large project, first time, very costly project for Excel in those days. All that he could do extremely well with this approach. Another dimension of how he did this is he was always along with Papa and Goenjibai, his elder brothers. They were very great at finding unusual out-of-box solutions for many things. Bhavnagar phosphorus plant is one example where the team was so young, they were all fresh out of college. So one would feel that you are doing your biggest projects and you are selecting these youngsters. How will they do it? But they did it. Another thing which, along with Goenjibai, what he did was the Bhavnagar factory in charge was a school teacher or a school principal. One would feel that what would a school teacher know how to run a company? But that's what he did. Our Lotte Parshuram factory was built, and the team that was being built, again a school teacher was invited to train the group. Again one would say that what would they know about, what would he know about the how to train industrial people? But it was done and done very successfully, and Lotte continues to work very nicely even today. When he was doing one of the major projects, he was looking for a critical knowledge. A PhD student from IIT had come to see him to get his blessings because he was going abroad. During his sharing, Kaka found out that he had done work on some very interesting catalyst. Kaka took that up and used it for the project that he was after, and it really was a first time in the world project. One of the best examples of his out-of-box selection of people is none other than our colleague Kirtibai Shah. Kirtibai, can you stand up, please? He is an 87-year-old young man who continues to be active even now. He joined when he was a young man without completing the college education, continues to be active even today. So Kirtibai, thank you. Another example is the setting up a factory in UK, in London, in the heart of London, when the exports were stopped by the government of India. So to think of going, and this was within 7-8 years after we got independence from the British. So Sandra, with due respect to the British, this is where the Excel went. And who was managing the company? Of course, Raju and Kishore Bhai were there. But our manager of the factory was Mr. Manchu. Who was he? He was an Adivasi boy who did not know how to read or write, but he was the manager, and he did a wonderful job. So these are the examples of how out-of-box solutions were found by Kaka. Now coming to his role in Excel as a corporate person, and he went through from the shop floor right up to the chairman and MD. Retired in mid-90s, went to Kutch, never looked back, never inquired about how Excel was doing, what was happening, etc. So the post-corporate role, ending in mid-90s, he shifted to Kutch along with Kaki or Ba or Chandaben, as many of us would call her by different names. Both of them together, a very loving couple in their own ways, helped Kutch get transformed dramatically with full attention to income security, water and food security, care for the environment, natural resources, traditional talents and craft. They together created three major organizations in Kutch, which are more than 50 years old: VRTI, or Vivekananda Research and Training Institute, Shrujan, and Abhiyan. Abhiyan is short for Kutch Nirmad Abhiyan, which was created after the earthquake, and it served Kutch extremely well. And all this, in his typical style, was done while ensuring full respect and dignity to the people, local people, the individuals concerned, etc. He also created a unique organization or a company, Agrocell, a marine chemical company, as such a company, on the border with the neighboring country to ensure local employment, including self employment for the people, from a completely isolated and ignored area and population. Today, it is a vibrant, thriving area. In his corporate life, what he created was he participated and, of course, led by most of them in creating Excels and Agrocells manufacturing locations, starting with Jogeshwari, which was the first site, hardly 1 acre of land. But that 1 acre contained everything. And as if something was missing, I remember that even the glass blower was invited to join the company, and there was a glass blowing unit, so that whatever we needed for the R&D was all created on the spot. There was a workshop, there was electrical department, pump department, everything, all within 1 acre of land. So it was a complete unit. Then came the Amboli unit in Mumbai, in Andheri, which was compared to Jogeshwari, 8 acres of land, quite a lot of land, 8 times more. This was again a kind of technology and project development center. It was like a mini university, and many of the people that were trained, and many of them are sitting on that last table, and I'm sure they will be happy that they were part of Excel, part of Amboli, which was a big university, and all of us learned many lessons there. Even I remember Arun Bhai Asher, you also started your life at Amboli. Then, of course, came Bhavnagar, which was the largest site first time outside Mumbai, 50 acres of land. At that time, it was a great amount of land. First time outside Mumbai, then Roha in Maharashtra, Lote in Maharashtra. So quite a few sites were created, all wonderful, very, very creative, very innovative. Now coming to his lifestyle and his behavior and his personal conduct, as all of us or most of us who have experienced him, an extremely simple person with very simple lifestyle, always free to interact. There was never a time when somebody came to meet him and he would say, "Sorry, I'm busy, I can't meet you just now." Always free. And not only was he always willing to meet, but he gave his complete unconditional love to whoever came to meet him, from smallest person to the highest person. And last but not the least, he was a greatly demanding person, demanding of others. But where did it start? It started with himself. He was greatly demanding of himself. That is why he could demand from others. He showed the example of how to be demanding in a right way. Another dimension, along with Papa, his elder brother, and Bhai, his elder brother, that is Shapraj Bhai and Govindji Bhai, a very frugal and quick innovator and project executor. I gave you the example of Bhavnagar phosphorus plant, which was built first time going outside Mumbai in under 2 years at a cost of 1.5 crores, whereas we had a quotation from outside engineering consultants of 6 crores. So to do a project in 25% of the cost that somebody else would say is the required, and be able to do it first time outside within 2 years was quite an achievement. Another dimension of his, he was always a person who was part of the society. So he supported many causes and helped in building many activities. It is not that he gave a lot of money, but the timely help, even if it was small, so that the organization was nurtured and was able to see the light of the day. 2 examples I will give. In Andheri, in the Bhavan's campus, there is a microbiology lab. They wanted to start a research center. The research center needed some money, which was small, but it was a timely help that was required. Kaka gave that. There is an association called the Indian Environment Association. There were a few people who were concerned about engineering and effluent and all that, who wanted to start something. And Kaka helped them to set it up, again with a timely help when it was needed. Later on, when you are well known, you can get a lot of money, but it's the timely help that is important. The last thing I would like to share about him, because there are many others who are going to also share, is one of his characteristics was he was never feeling ashamed of being able to touch something which was considered untouchable, whether it was people or whether it was materials. People, somebody the society would consider as untouchable, outcast, he would be able to own up that person, give him love, give him respect, and help him to grow. One of the good examples of how he was able to touch the untouchable material was nothing but our city waste, which we all generate every day. He pioneered Excel's activities into waste management, where you take the waste and convert it into compost and help the farmers, help the city, both ways. So like that, there are many examples of Kaka and his personality. I'm very happy to share all that with you. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. Audible? Audible now? So, hi, I'm Amish Shroff, Kaka's daughter. And I would like to talk about Feruzi Anjirbag, the author. She's someone who we've known a very long time now, but I think I should get back to how we really got to know her. And that was when we decided, all of us, that we need to apply for the Rolex Award for my mother. She had quietly, unassumingly, very humbly kept working on livelihood issues in Kutch, on heritage conservation, on craft enhancement. And what we wanted to do was to let the world know about her and her work. So what did I do? I turned, as usual, to my phone a friend, Neela Kapadia. Could you please get up, Neelu? So I called her and I said, this is something, and she also fell in love with the idea of the project. And then we decided, okay, neither of us is going to be able to write it, so we need to find someone. And she told me that I have the right person for you. And she told me a story. She's saying, remember, right after the earthquake, there was an exhibition that Shrujan put up at the Prince of Wales Museum. Like, yeah, she's saying we gave a title to it. And I'd called a friend who gave us the title in 15 minutes, Under the Embroidered Sky. So that was the CV that Neelu gave us of the person who we should get to write the proposal for the Rolex Award. And in came Feruzi. Even that day, we forgot to ask her who she was, what her background was. We didn't even ask her full name. She sat down and instead started asking all of us questions about Shrujan, what we do, why we are doing it, and a lot of conversations with Mom. I think at some point, she fell in love with the entire project and came on board, wrote the proposal, which she called the Pride and Enterprise proposal. This was so well written that Ba got shortlisted for Rolex and then, of course, got the Rolex award. So after that, whatever work that Ba needed written, she would just tell me, call up Feruzi. I was like, yeah, but we need to tell Feruzi what she needs to write because, I mean, you'll have to have some conversation. She's like, no. Feruzi will know what has to be written. She knows my mind. And so it went on. Over all these years, anything that has been written for Shrujan has been written by Feruzi, whether it was a label, a brochure, our Pride and Enterprise project, which led into the book called The Under the Embroidered Sky, and the embroidery of the Ahirs of Kutch has also been written by her. So, of course, when it came to writing the book on Kaka, I think Preeti Babi, Dipesh, all of them came up and they said, let's do it with Feruzi. And Feruzi was also very enthusiastic about it. So she came on board. But the book cannot be written without a lot more people in it. And so she needed her partner in crime, Deepa Hari. Deepa, could you please stand up? She refused to come on stage and talk, so I think you can do that. She's, I think, one of the world's best editor, and as I call her, a fantastic wordsmith. She's also the editor for, I think, all the writing that Feruzi has done, earlier book and in this book. So this team of Feruzi, Deepa, but then there's a lot of photographs involved in anything that you do. So we again bring in Neelu, and three of them have put together everything that's needed for this book. Endless, of course, interviews with a lot of people, all the participants who've been part of it. And then we had the design team, because then you needed to design it, which was the Oasis Design company. And the people who worked really hard on it were Rachita Sareen and Sakshi Suthar. So I would like to even thank them. They're not here, but wherever you are, hopefully you're seeing YouTube Live and seeing the thank you. So now I think actually instead of me talking, maybe I should tell Feruzi to talk about how she began this entire journey of the book.
Thank you, Ami. Can you hear me? Thank you, Ami. In the beginning, Kaka was not at all keen to have a book written on him. For him, the past was over and done with. It was the work ahead that mattered. In his words, if I'm only yesterday's man, then there is not much relevance. But if I can say, I am here, there are quite a few relevant things which I have to do. What can I do today to make for a better tomorrow? So on one hand, there was Kaka's reluctance. On the other hand, I was totally in awe of Kaka. Yes, I very much wanted to write the book. But when this dream became a reality, when I found myself sitting in front of him, I felt inadequate, underprepared, overwhelmed. And all this put together did not make for a very cozy start. I remember very early on when we were talking about his work at Excel Industries, I asked him what I thought was a very innocuous question. I said something like, Kaka, what challenges did you face in Excel? The moment he heard the word challenges, he turned away and started staring at the register that was lying in front of him. The silence was unnerving. And I asked myself, oh, bapre, aiso thai gayo. Then somehow, I thought that I knew where I had goofed up. So I summed up the courage and asked him, Kaka, you don't like this word challenge? So he looked at me and he said, it is a very stupid word. Because the moment you're talking challenge, you think of yourself as some pelwan. Whereas all new discoveries are made through humbleness. I should have known better. I should have known that a person like Kaka, who is sensitive about every being and about everything, would also be sensitive about words, the way they are used, and about language. That was an important lesson. Another thing I discovered very early on, Kaka did not like talking about himself. I was his least favorite word. But if you ask him about his parents, his brothers and sister, or his beloved wife Kaki, then his face would just light up. And there would be stories, long stories. And the amazing thing was that he remembered all the details, all the facts and figures about events and incidents that had happened 30, 40, even 50 years ago. Why he finally agreed remains a mystery. What I do know is that a time came when he gave of himself fully. He surrendered. He made himself available whenever I asked for a session. He would already be in the dining room at the round teakwood table, which is so dear to me even today. He would have his register open, and he would be jotting down some points in the register. By that time, he had come to know that I loved tea. I think Kaki must have told him that. So the moment he saw me, he would see me, he would request Tukaram to make me a cup. And he would not allow me to start the session till I had some few moments of quiet to enjoy the tea. But enjoying the tea in such circumstances was impossible. I would simply gulp down the tea, and the tea would be so hot, I would get hiccups. And this happened almost every single time. Still, it was a ritual I cherished. Even more so now, when I know that I will never ever sit at that table with Kaka by my side. When our relationship turned into dosti, when Kaka became beloved, I do not know. Even then, a little awe, or perhaps a lot of awe, still remained. When I was with him, I sat up straighter. I was alert, completely in the moment. I listened not just to his words, but also the silences and the pauses. When you sit with Kaka, you learn to make dosti with silence. And silence is a great teacher. So that was the beginning of the book. It is a book about one magnificent life. But this book is not just about what Kaka did in the past. This book is very much about the present. We can learn from this book how to live today, tomorrow, and forevermore with purpose and meaning, with kindness and abundance. Thank you.
And now a new journey begins. I have the honor of calling upon Raju Kaka to do the formal launch of the book. Raju Kaka is a Padma Bhushan awardee. He's also the founder of UPL. And he's also the founder of UPL and many, many great institutions. Today at this function, Raju Kaka joins us as the Vadil of the Shroff family. He was very dear to Kaka and Kaka very dear to him. I think all of us in the family still remember that one day when Raju Kaka flew down to Kutch to meet Dada for the day, and they spent the whole day holding each other's hand, and they talked and they talked. It was beautiful. Can I please ask you to unveil the book?
IAS.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the book You Can Call Me Kaka, celebrating the life of Kantisen
I'm
Shroff.
not sure. So,
out of all the Bhatijas, I am the eldest Bhatija. You do not know, everybody talk.
Krishna.
When I was 8 or 9 years old, I used to go with Kaka to the Vadala area where there was jungle or the fire gardens to sketch the children. And he was master. I do not know he came to chemicals, but otherwise he was a great artist. Even he taught me how to draw lines straight and other. So this is what. One other thing which people do not know, which I know, Ashwin Bhai already told that Kaka could find genius among these. But except Manchubai, who was a very normal genius, most of other genius he found, like Mr. Swaminathan, Mr. Toprani, Mr. Kalyan Banerjee, all had problems. And they were in excel. He found them out, but somehow they did not survive. And my UPL progressed fast because all these difficult people, I took them. Manchubai worked till late, only last year he died. So this is what, see one few examples. One Mr. Ambasankar, a poor fellow, he was working on Cooper's chloride, cupric chloride. Kaka gave him a title of Dr. Copper, and he got out of him. So Kaka had a talent to find out the genius hidden in the people and give him a boost. Even Kirtibai, I know, when I came, I said, what a bichara, poor looking. He became a genius. And thanks to Kaka, he has an ability to encourage. I have too many stories, but I will. One day in laboratory, by the way, instead of staying in Matunga, I used to stay in factory with Kaka and go to Khalsa College by train. So I know we were spending much more time. And the way he found out the talent, like Manjubai, which Ashwin said, he came as a tribal boy cleaning Madhu dolls. But Kaka found out his genius. So this is what he had. And this has helped us, everything. There are too many stories, but today I will not tell, but sit with Ashwin and Deepesh and we'll have a good session on his stories. Thank you.
Thank you, Raju Kaka.
Let me add that I've enjoyed Rajubhai's company and relive the past and go through all the wonderful stories. So Rajubhai, thank you for that.
Now, Ami, can I ask you to tell us what is so khas about this book? Some few facts.
Sure, Krishni. So, as you can see, the book is pretty big, weighs around 1 kg, has 320 pages, more than 30 of Kaka's artworks in this. It has been written by, as we said, Feruzi Anjirbag, who before we knew her as our Feruzi, was someone who had been a writer and lecturer at the St. Xavier's College Institute of Communication, and she's also a Fulbright scholar, which we had no idea about. She'd done her scholarship on development communications and screenwriting in US. And Deepa, before she became our editor, and I think maybe before she became an editor, she was an IAS officer. I think she chose this one. IAS or IRS, I don't know which one. More than 70 people, what is really khas, Krishni, about this book is that more than 70 people have contributed into this book in one way or the other and helped Feruzi understand Kaka fully, because Kaka definitely didn't help her understand him. All of them have been mentioned in this book. We know that Kaka was a very inclusive person, and he was a team player, and he didn't like being a team leader. So that way, this is a team that creates this book. It was never one person. It was always we are together, whether, and I think I should just quote her on this one from the book. It was never one person. We were together, lettered, unlettered, whatever color, caste, creed. But we were always together to reach the goal. So for Feruzi to reach the goal, it's been a lot of people. Togetherness was a value he really cherished, and you get that sense from this book. Another thing that Kaka did not enjoy talking about was just Kaka, but it was about his siblings and his storytelling. So that too is a way that this book has been put together. You will hear stories in people's voices, and in Kaka's voice you will hear stories about everyone else. And I think maybe I should ask Harshal to elaborate one of the stories.
Hello. Hi, I'm Harshal. Kaka is my dada, my grandfather. I work in Agrocell, one of the companies which dada has inspired. When I think about stories from this book, it reminds me of a kaleidoscope. When you see a kaleidoscope, you see different patterns, different shapes. The stories in this book shows us different sides of Kaka. The writer also provides her version who she thinks Kaka was, and she says, what makes Kaka Kaka? Quoting from the book, residing his faith in the higher power, loving the world and every being in it, having an emotional attachment to work, finding good in everything, championing the so-called useless and worthless, looking for value even in waste, being positive, 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 moving through life with passion to contribute. These are just few of the 1,000 points of light that makes Kaka Kaka. All of us knew Kaka little bit or more. But just as a kaleidoscope, Kaka showed very different aspects of him with everyone. The people who didn't knew Kaka can also read stories about Kaka from this book and get inspired. What admires me most about Kaka was his ability to find person's talent and skills. A person himself would never know what kind of skills he would have. But with Kaka's nurture and with Kaka's love, he would do best of his ability for any task he was doing. One of such examples is my late father, Manoj Gohil. No one knew that it was possible to create such a big factory in middle of the desert, but with Kaka's support and Kaka's nurture, he was able to believe in himself and start this factory. Now, when Kaka is no longer with us to scold us, to nurture us, the values which he showed will still be very relevant even today. In order to make these values more long-lasting, we have started to attempt a project which will ensure that all these values are captured and are transmitted to all the members of Agrocell Parivar. When I talk about the lucky ones who had chance to work directly with Kaka, let me introduce Mr. Shri Ninad Gupte, one of the closest friends. Ninad Kaka, will you?
Thank you, Harshal. Am I audible? First for you. Am I audible? It was 1974, and I was passing by SV Road. I noticed Excel Industries, where I had applied for a summer training assignment. I had no real interest in the assignment, as I was already chosen by a multinational company for the same. I had some spare time on hand and decided to have some fun by attending a mock interview. So I walked into Excel Industries, and the personal manager just said, कि इनको काका के पास लेके जाना. And there I was with a person by name Kaka, without knowing his real name or without knowing his position. It was not an interview, but a chat lasting for more than an hour. I got up enchanted and accepted the summer training with Excel, leaving a posh office in Fort area and choosing a factory in Jogeshwari. So I, for one, Feruzi Ben, I do not fully in sync with the title of the book. For me, there was no courtship. The attachment was at the first meeting, and he was eternally Kaka to me, without any prompting to say that you can call me Kaka. Sorry, I should mention, I forgot about it. As I was walking out of the room, I realized that I have not talked about my stipend. So I turned back and asked him that, what are your terms and conditions? And I got a reply from Kaka that as far as you are honest to yourself, we have no terms and conditions. Harshal referred to the book as a kaleidoscope. And I would say that Kaka's management style also was a kaleidoscope. He was known to pick up his colleagues as multi-talented colored food pieces of glass. These pieces had different shapes, scales, and personalities. He excelled in creating synergy between various multicolored pieces of glass, giving them a united feeling of completeness. Kaka was the embedded invisible mirror in the construction of the kaleidoscope. He was the crucial component for synergy and results, but never ever seeking for credit and playing his favorite role as usual as a receiver. Kaka had the rare skill of rotating the kaleidoscope and placing his colleagues as well as the equipment in different wonderful formats. This led to the philosophy of continuous innovation without obsolescence. And that's very, very difficult to practice, that you keep on innovating, you keep on changing, but none, even people or the equipment, feel that they are outdated. He could very easily visualize what new products can be made in the same hardware. And that helped the company to bring in new products and always remain as a market leader. Kaka used all his 5 senses to control processes: color, smell, feel, consistency were some of the parameters used for process control. Recently, I met a professor from IIT who was trained under Kaka. And he told me a story that one day on a factory visit, Kaka asked him, "Can you tell me what is the flow rate of water in this pipe?" And being an IIT student, he said, "If I know the diameter of the pipe and the capacity of the pump, I can work it out." And Kaka walked up to the pipe, put his ear to the pipe, and announced the flow rate. When he did the calculations, he found that Kaka's estimation was practically correct. And he told me that this story, even today, he narrates to the IIT students of the current batches. During implementation of projects, Kaka used to be like a haunted man, haunted with passion and intensity. His commitment was very infectious. He was a hard taskmaster when it came to work. I would rather say a very, very fierce taskmaster. Travel for work had to be always on a one-way ticket. No one ever dared to travel with Kaka with a return ticket, because the return date was always decided by the completion of the task that he had assigned to you. Some assignments with Kaka, for me, have started by Kaka telling me, "Tell mother that you are going with Kaka, and I do not know when I would get back." One of my visits with him to Bhavnagar was for several weeks, and all of us, including Kaka, we stayed in a common hall on the Bhavnagar factory. Each one had a mosquito net as our independent super cabin, and thus the communication really happened in a transparent manner and on a 24/7 basis. The assignments given by Kaka were always in a group to ensure sahaviryam, which was his favorite word. For him, material achievements were mere a byproduct of the team's synergy. Once he wrote to me, and I am still wondering whether it was an advice or a scolding, but I'll read out from his letter. "The only way it can be done if we remain united." But united for what? Success does not sustain unity. It only distracts. Complacency enters. Decay can begin. But if we are united to serve our nation and the country, then we need one another continuously. That was the analysis of the concept of material success from Kaka's perspective, not found in any of the management textbook. That's Kaka for me. And may I request Pariniti to talk about the other aspect of Kaka's persona?
Thank you, Ninad Kaka. So this is the story what Kirit Mama has told Feruzi Ben. I remember the time when cupboards for Ba's room were being made. by the carpenters on the site. This was when the Sanket was being built. In the evening, Ba, Kaka, and I would go to see how the work was progressing. Building Sanket was Ba's baby. All of us, we were just allowed to play with it but not do anything more. The carpenters were there and Ba said, Kirit, look at these cupboards that are for my bedroom. Are they okay? Before I could reply, Kaka asked, these cupboards are for our bedroom? All of them? Ba said yes. Kaka looked extremely baffled. He said, I have only 3 pans. They will not require so much space. Ba's reply was classic. Whatever space remained, I will use for my saris. The carpenters were trying not to show their amusement. They were thinking, could this really be the man who owns this whole building? So this was the story. Now I would like Manish Kaka, can you please tell your story?
Thank you, Pari. Yeah, like all of others, I have a small story which could take place in 1994-95. We everyone know Kaka's Tabela's office. So I was working in the Tabela office where Kaka also sitting nearby, and it was a lunchtime. Kaka saw me and called me. He told me that some people have this fear to operating computers. Can you do something? Since I was in IT, said yes. Kaka, we can teach them. Kaka said yes. Teach them how to play the games on the computer. I was shocked. Teach people to play games in office? Anyhow, I did what Kaka asked me, and within 2-3 months, it's a good result. Everybody in the Tabela office become very comfortable with the computers. That was Kaka's magic. He knew what strategy would work and how to make learning enjoyable and fun. I will ask Rishit Bhai to continue. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Am I audible? Am I audible? Good afternoon. I'm Rishit. I'm Kaka's grand nephew. Kaka and my grandfather were brothers. There are some qualities about Kaka that simply fascinate me. When Kaka joined Excel Industries Limited, he had no formal education in chemistry or in engineering. He was about 20 years old at that time, and he was on his way to becoming a very promising artist. Art was his obsession. He said, I was dreaming big, very big dreams about my art. But then his brother and my grandfather, Chapraj, who everybody called Papa, needed him in the factory. So overnight, Kaka gave up the art. He learned new skills as quickly as he could so that he could be used to his brother, who in turn wanted to be of use to the emerging nation by producing much needed chemicals, many of which were extremely hazardous and developed for the first time in India. Surrender and reinvention. These are constant themes in Kaka's lives. I'm fascinated and moved by them. Many years later, when Kaka took over as managing director and chairman of Excel Industries, he reinvented himself all over again. He picked up knowledge and skills in business management, finance, and marketing, and grew the company sevenfold in his 10-year tenure as managing director. But when he stepped down, he never looked back. He just let go, never wanting to know what was happening in Excel. Not only did he let go effortlessly, he taught us to do the same. In 2001, there was a fire at the Excel Jogeshwari premises, and the Excel library went up in flames with many other rooms and floors. Everyone was aghast. Ours was not just an industrial library, it was a proper, full-fledged library. We also knew what it meant to Kaka. In the book, Dipesh Bhai, Kaka's son, says, and I quote, all were crying, and the question was, who will tell Kaka about the fire? That came to me. Kaka told me quietly, it's good it's gone. Now we can create a library for your future. Unquote. Kaka's words struck everyone like a thunderbolt. There was no lament, there was no anguish, just a calm letting go. But there was also a push. Kaka was telling us, Snap out of it. This is not the end of the world. Many years later, when I was in Excel Crop Care, we were unjustly forced to give up our most successful product. The company's morale hit rock bottom. There was uncertainty, there was disbelief, there was anger. Then Kaka addressed a meeting of company seniors, and we were all hoping that he would say something to comfort us, to make us feel better. What did Kaka say? I read from this book. Thank God the molecule died. For 30 years it was king, and we enjoyed its bounty. It was a good product, but it has to die so new thoughts can come. It's important that new thoughts come. God must have felt that if I take away this product from them, only then will these people begin to learn other things. Unquote. Kaka's unexpected words electrified the company. He was telling us, quite bluntly, to stop feeling sorry for ourselves. As for me, Kaka's words just let me breathe. We stopped focusing our energies on being defensive and started putting our energies on saying, what else can we do? The whole company stood by us, and we stood by them. Our bankers also stood by us, and within 2 years, we made a spectacular turnaround. Had Kaka not delivered that outrageous wake-up call, I don't know how long it would have taken for us to bounce back. Yes, Kaka could be outrageous. He could be stern. In his younger days, I was told that he had quite a fiery temper. And you should hear one such story about this. So let me call on Krishni, Kaka's granddaughter, to share the story.
I was very lucky. I never experienced Dada's anger. As Papa says, Dada had become very thanda by the time I came around. But I've heard many stories, of which I'll read one of them from the book. This is Nishchal Shah, or Go-To Kaka's story. Once, I sat down for a meal with Kanti Fua and I did not finish the dal. He said, "Why have you left the dal? Finish it." Not only did I finish the dal, I swallowed the kokum also that was floating in it. You're not supposed to eat the kokum. That is only for flavoring the dal, but I was so scared I did not have the courage to leave it. I have not seen Kanti Fua angry. Only this much anger I have seen. But even that is scary enough. There is no argument about this subject. People are going hungry. How can you waste food? End of story. This was also my Dada. But I would not like you to think that he was always angry. He had a sense of humor. He was a brave heart. He was also eccentric and he could be very tender. There is also a story in the book called the Ram Lakshman story. Ami, can you please tell this story?
Sure, Krishni. Am I audible? One of Kaka's brother was Govindji Bhai. Everyone called him Bhai. He was a brilliant administrator and a financial wizard. He succeeded Papa as the managing director and chairman, but when his health started failing and he could not continue, he stepped down and then Kaka took over. Shruti Bhabi, who is Bhai's daughter-in-law, has something to say about this relationship between the brothers, and it's a story in the book, so I'll quote her. She says, they are Ram and Lakshman. The two brothers had work-related differences, but their love for each other I have experienced. Bhai had developed lung problems, and when his breathing would get bad, he would tell me, call Kaka and tell him Bhai is remembering you. I would do that. And within 24 hours, from wherever he was, Kaka would come to Baroda. He would take a bath and then sit on the bed with Bhai. He would put Bhai's head on his lap and he would do pranayam. And Bhai's breathing would get better. At that time, I did not understand how it was possible that one brother is working on his breath and the other brother's breath is easing. He's getting relief. But it used to work. Bhai would feel better, then Kaka would stop. They would have lunch or dinner and talk. And then Kaka would go back to Bombay. This was the love between the brothers, Bhai and Kaka. Now I request Ninad Bhai to talk about the prayer meet.
3 prayer meetings took place when Kaka passed away. Over 100 people spoke about Kaka to over 1,000 of us who had gathered online to pay tribute to Kaka and console ourselves. Most of us were part of the Gurukul which he headed, a true Guru who humbled you by his humbleness. Only an exalted soul can touch lives of thousands simultaneously in an equal manner as Kaka did. I shall read my tribute appearing in the book. All of us have different anubhav with Kaka, but surprisingly, the anubhuti that all of us enjoyed remains the same. Anubhav is a bodily experience, while anubhuti is a sharing of vibrations of a soul. The common anubhuti experienced by thousands of his jodidars may be captured as: he was my father, he was physically available to me during my personal problems, he understood my needs without ever telling him, he selected or recruited me in a very special manner, he took me under his wings, he was my mentor, he gave me a dream, he gave me a vision, and more importantly, a purpose of life. He showed me how to take blame and always give credit. He showed me the virtuous path. He showed me the pleasure in working for others. He showed me how to remain in a mental state, always as a receiver and never as a giver. Thank you, Kaka, for enriching our lives. And may I now request Ashwin Bhai to conclude the function.
Thank you, Ninath. Well, we are at the end of the program. I'm sure all of you have found it meaningful in your own way. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for being part of the family and sharing our respect, our love, our remembrances, our memories of Kaka. So thank you very much. Now I would invite Krishni to announce.
Thank you everyone for coming. At the back of the room, we have a book distribution going on for everyone to collect their copies of the book. For now, I would request that everyone take 1 copy per family so we have enough to reach everyone. And after that, there's also snacks and refreshments, please. Thank you for coming.